I'm George Joubran. I graduated from the University of Michigan in 2013 with a degree in international business and finance.
And what inspired you to pursue the degree in international business and finance?
There was a few things that inspired me to get a degree in international business and finance. Mainly, it was because of my background. Come from a family that immigrated from the Middle East, and it kind of inspired me to become interested in other cultures and the world at large. And also, many of my family members took up occupations in business and finance, which opened the door to all the possibilities that come with knowledge of the business world and the finance world.
You work with different people on an everyday basis. What exactly do you do?
Well, there's a few things that I focus on at my job. One of them is immigration. I help immigrants in the local area who have questions with their paperwork, because the paperwork can be really confusing, especially if your native language isn't English. So they'll come in and they'll say, how can I fill out this form? How can I bring my family members over? How can I renew my green card? And they want to say they want to say legal. So they come to me with help. We have attorneys that work for us. I ask the attorneys what to do, and they respond with an answer to me. And then I just kind of relay that information to the immigrant clients, and basically I'll show them which form they need, or I'll show them the proper way to fill out the form.
So specifically, you're kind of in the immigration department, kind of.
That's one of the major things. I also do, I have a lot to do with the program events that we have. So every year we have about 4 major events, and our largest one is the event in October. It's Ensure the Legacy. It brings in about 300 people, and I'm in charge of the attendance, the seating, and the financials. So when people call and they say, where is this person sitting, or can you seat me with them, I help them with that. And then another thing I do other than the immigration and the program events is I do translations. So in order to file immigration documents, your paperwork has to be translated in English. You can't submit a document in Arabic or Spanish. So if somebody comes in with an Arabic birth certificate, I translate it to English for them. Then I just sign it, and that's good for immigration. They just need a signature of who did it.
So you think working here at the Arab American Heritage Council has helped with the fact that racism definitely does exist, and you witness it less, or that you're so much closer with other ideas and beliefs and other people that you just maybe take it less offensively?
Are you referring to Arab racism?
Just in general, I guess. Like I said, I could view Chinese food as not being good because I've never had it, and I could say I don't like Arabs, but I've never met any.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think that maybe your views towards society and humanity are different because you work with so many people?
Well, I think there's a lot of people that have traveled the world and they have met people from all over the world. And so I would have to say that my view would probably be similar to theirs. There's a lot of people who aren't racist at all. They don't have any racist views. And then there's people who are racist, but those are usually people who haven't really traveled the world, and they don't have very many friends from another ethnicity. So I think, I think you just have to get out and meet people. And well, I think people really they should just try to make friends from other races and religions. Just hear what they say. Get it from them instead of watching mainstream media. And I think that will definitely reduce a lot of the stereotypes, and everyone will realize that everybody's pretty much the same. We all have the same desires and dreams, and it's kind of ridiculous to think that some people are so much different just because they're a different religion or they're a different color. It's a little bit ridiculous.
So being an Arab American when 9/11 happened, you were fifth grade, about fourth grade.
Yeah, fifth grade. Yeah.
Do you remember like I did?
Mm-hmm.
And then more specifically, did you face any stereotypes or racism as if you were directly working behind the scenes of 9/11, even though, like I said, you obviously weren't, and you're no more American than I am, so why should my opinion and my experience be any more important than yours?
Mm-hmm.
Do you remember that time?
Yeah, I actually remember I was in fifth grade, and the teacher came in and turned on the TV, and it was the news. And I actually remember seeing one of the planes hit one of the towers because they had it on video. And I was like, what is going on? And then I went to a Catholic school, and then we went to church, and the priest was talking about what happened. So that's what I really remember very well. And I didn't feel any different than anybody. And I didn't really face any racist remarks. One time, one of my fellow classmates made a comment. It was more of a joke, though. I didn't really take it personally. He said that he made a joke. He said, George, your uncle or your cousin, he caused this problem. He was saying I was related to the people. And it was kind of funny, but it was a little bit, you know.
Do you think that maybe you didn't face some of the stereotypes then because you were born in Flint and because you speak perfect English, but I mean, unless people really knew you, they wouldn't know that your whole family came from the Middle East.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think that the reason you didn't face some of those stereotypes is because you're white, and the idea of Arabs kind of being darker and not speaking the fluent, perfect English? Do you think you didn't face it because people didn't know, maybe?
A lot of people, they think of Arabs as really dark people, you know, jet black hair, beards, or whatever, but not all Arabs are dark. Some of them have blonde hair. You wouldn't even think they're Arab. I've met an Arab with red hair. And I'm actually half Arab. My mom's of European descent. So I guess I'm not considered full Arab American, I think. But I think a lot of your identity comes from your culture, how you grew up. You know, were you raised in the American culture, or were you raised in a different culture? And I think mine is half and half. I grew up half American culture, half Arab, because I spent a lot of time with my dad's side of the family.
Can you speak on the importance of family and why it's like such a strong foundation in the Arab American culture?
Sure. In the Arab American culture, family is very important. It's definitely one of the staples in their culture. Their family is very close. Partly because of how they're raised, they live together in one area. Their houses are stacked, like apartment-style houses. So you'll have like the mom on the bottom, the grandparents on bottom. And then on the next floor, you'll have their son's house. And on top of that, you'll have their other son. Maybe across the street, you'll have the grandma's brother's family. So all this area is one family. So they're very united. They see each other on a daily basis. And they're also very loving and caring for their family. And this allows for the youth to grow up in a very positive atmosphere, and kind of keeps them away from the temptations in the world that would create problems in their families. So I would say it's very important for every culture to really have a strong family and to allow their kids to grow up in a close-knit family, very loving family, in order for them to have a healthy lifestyle.
An ABC News poll conducted during the Persian Gulf crisis in February 1991, which you were probably just born?
I was 2 years old.
And this is 10 years before 9/11, it shows that 43% of Americans say they had a high opinion of Arabs, while 41% said they had a low opinion. In that poll, majority of Americans said the following terms apply to Arabs. 81% were religious, 59% terrorist, 58% violent, and 56% religious fanatics. So you'd be considered a religious fanatic, violent, a terrorist, and that was 10 years before 9/11,
Wow.
which obviously is increased post 9/11. How does that make you feel, or what's your opinion?
It makes me feel that that poll doesn't make sense. It sounds like they haven't met Arabs. They haven't traveled to the Arab world. All the Arabs I've met are really relaxed, cool people, and they're not extremists. They're not violent. Just the ones like I see in the news, they're violent, they're extremists. And, but yeah, most Arabs I know are just average people. They just want to have a good life.
Do you think there's something that can be done to change that? That prejudice that if I close my eyes and think of an Arab, I think of a man with a big beard, but yet I'm sitting right across from one, and you don't have a beard, and you're not a terrorist, and you're here working to help Americans, and you're working to help humanity, not just people living in the Middle East. So that's not fair, obviously. What do you think?
Well, the news has a big part in it. The news wants to show something that people will be drawn to. That's their job, they want to get viewers. People aren't interested in a nice person doing good things, They want to see something crazy and something that'll scare them a little bit so that they'll keep paying attention to the news. And because of that, we have these stereotypes of other cultures and other people because of what we see on TV, Like, when you think of an Arab, you'll probably think of the things you've seen about them. All you've seen is what's on TV. You haven't been to the Middle East. You probably don't have a lot of friends that live there or, are of Arab descent. So the important thing is that you try to understand there's a lot more people than just ISIS or the extremists. There's a lot of, good people.
In the 2008 presidential election, an audience member spoke up and told John McCain that they didn't trust President Obama because he was an Arab. And John McCain's answer was, "No, ma'am, he's a decent family man, a citizen that I just happen to have disagreements with." So with him disagreeing that he's Arab and saying, no, he's a good family man, he's a decent person, good citizen, but saying no to he's an Arab, there's a kind of, they don't coincide with each other at all, of being a good man or a good family man and being an Arab. It's like John McCain, who's running to be the president of the United States, was sitting here saying that an Arab can't be a good family man or a good person at the same time. What do you think about that?
It kind of it skews the public's view of an Arab. He kind of agreed that he wasn't an Arab, and he didn't say anything about her fear of Arabs, which doesn't make sense. You can't really have a fear of an entire race, because there's always going to be good people, there's always going to be bad people, but everybody's the same. Every race has good and bad people in it, so you can't say I'm afraid of a certain race. It's not a good view. So he should have, said that there's nothing to fear of another race. Doesn't matter where he's from. Doesn't matter his religion or his gender, whatever. It's just the fact that he is a good person. He's a human like everybody, and he wants good for the nation, and he doesn't want, to cause any problems.
Do you feel like Arab Americans have been demonized in a way? Because I feel like, thinking back to World War II, whenever there's a war against somebody, those people, especially living within the country, are demonized. Do you feel like, as an Arab American, that you or your family or Arab Americans have been demonized?
I feel like the news kind of draws on the bad areas of the Arab world. But again, the news just wants to draw viewers. You know, they want to put the most crazy video on, so everybody will want to see what's going on over there. And people might, from that, they might think of the Arabs as these people because that's all they know. They see it on TV. They've never traveled to that part of the world, and they probably don't have a lot of Arab friends. So I don't really feel like they're being demonized. I just feel like people need to understand that this is the news. Their job is to let the world know what's crazy going on, and I feel like that's what the news does. So people should, you know, I think most people have common sense to realize everybody in one race isn't going to be bad. So I think most people understand there's a lot of good people in every race, and if you don't think there's good people in a certain race, and you're racist, and you need to have more of an open mind, and you know, understand that everybody has good and bad people in their race. I have experienced a little bit of trouble at the airports. Like when I go to Canada, sometimes they'll see in my passport that I've been to Israel, and they'll kind of the one time I went, they made me stop, and that's what I thought. Why would they make me stop and wait? I didn't get it, so I just assumed it was because maybe my last name or because I traveled to the Middle East.
Do you think that you were stopped because the idea that the United States and Israel, they're obviously allies with each other? Have you been to other countries in Europe that they haven't looked at your passport or maybe scrutinized against you like you felt when you went to Israel?
Well, I have been to Germany. I went to Germany, and I spent a couple months there, and we came in on the airport in Cologne, and they did a thorough search of me. They searched everything, body scan, searched my shoes with a magnet, which is made me feel safe. They're doing their job, and I know that it is their job. I don't think they're stereotyping me. So, yeah, I think they have to protect their borders. They don't want any trouble coming into their countries, so they have to tell their employees to check everybody, and if you have any suspicion, to check them. But I haven't felt any stereotype.
So it's like, it sounds like you felt like you were more protected in the search than you were being.
It's a little frustrating, but
I feel like that's not the universal feeling amongst Arab Americans. But that would just be another prejudice on my part. I feel like Arab Americans feel like every time they go to the airport they're going to be searched, or there's racism and having to take off their shoes. And when you went to the airport and you were being searched and your shoes were being taken off, you didn't feel like it was because you were an Arab, or were there white Americans being searched as well?
Yeah, there was other my students who were American. They also were searched the same way as I was.
So do you think the white Americans were searched the same way you were? It's less of a racial act than it was. It's less racism and more, like you said, being protected and protecting the United States?
Yeah, I think it wasn't anything racist. I think they were just doing their job, and every country has to protect their borders. You know, because if they have anybody come in that might cause a problem, they're gonna be the ones that are gonna get in trouble for it. So they have to do a good job, check everybody, and if they have any suspicions, then they have to check. And like what's going on? I mean, you have ISIS and things going on in the Middle East. Obviously, it's gonna be a suspicion. If you come from that area, they're gonna wanna check you. So if you take it personally, I don't know if that's. I don't know if that would be a good idea to take it personally. They're just doing their job, and you're protecting the airport and their borders.
By taking it personally, you could become angry towards the person surging you, and that just creates more problems than what you had before.
Yeah. I mean, shouldn't take it personally. You have to understand that you want to ride on a safe plane. If they don't check you, maybe you'll feel a little insecure at the airport, like, wow, I just got right in, and now I'm on the plane. I hope that they check the other people, Everyone wants to feel safe on the airplane, so.
But every time I've been to the airport, I don't think I've ever seen anybody other than someone of Middle Eastern descent being searched. So I definitely know that stereotype is there. But you feel like it's more of just a way to protect all Americans, right?
I don't really want to say that it's stereotyping, because it's their job to have protect, and if they have any suspicion, they have to, do their job.
John Kupski, representative in Louisiana, on a Tennessee radio station, he was asked a question about Arabs, and his response was, if I see someone who comes in that's got a diaper on his head and a fan belt wrapped around the diaper on his head, that guy needs to be pulled over. Does that make you feel any differently, or
yeah,
does that just speak to his ignorance? Maybe does it make you mad? Does it just make you laugh? Does it frustrate you?
It does frustrate me. That wasn't a very professional thing to say. Just I don't know. Well, I'm not the president of the United States, so I can't really gear people's opinions towards one thing. But in my opinion, I would have to say that we should be focusing more on our communities, our specific communities. We live in a very large country, and we can't focus all of our attention on the whole country, because it distracts us of what's going on right in front of us. So what we need to do, in my opinion, is focus more on our specific communities, try to develop them more. Everybody should be participating in voting and stuff like that, and trying to promote healthy community, and definitely focus on the youth, because the youth is the future of that community.